Folks, welcome back to So Bad It's Good, presented by Betches Media. Today, this is a long time coming, and this shows you how I get really nervous to ask people I admire to come on the show. And I took the leap, and I asked him, and after much thought, it took weeks for him to decide. He finally agreed to come on this podcast. I'm completely joking. I consider our guest a triple threat. This man can do anything. And I would love to say that this man is a jerk, but he is really one of the kindest people that I have met in Los Angeles. Not only is he an actor appearing in so many shows like Modern Family, he has a list of IMDb longer than Heather Dubrow. Not only is he the host or co-host of Shannon and Vicky Live, which is on tour across this great nation, but he is also a regular on Jeff Lewis Live. I think he is part of the heart and soul of that show. Also a chef. His Cook and Kibbitz show goes live on Instagram every Thursday, and it's amazing. He also has Truffle Salt, which we'll get into. The man does everything. The one, the only, Doug Budin. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Have a great day, everybody. I'm out. Returns after that, Ryan. Jeez.
No, I mean, listen, I was there. You really have your hand in everything right now, and I want to start, I guess, with you on the Shannon and Vicky live show of it all, because we're watching this play out potentially a little bit on Orange County after this week's episode, where we find out Tamara is no longer going to be a part of this. How did you end up stepping into this kind of, I mean, what do you consider your role in this live show?
I'm the MC. I host the evening. It's, I sort of keep that train on the tracks. And I work a lot. I work with the audience. If you hear that noise, that means an email came in. I don't know how to turn that sound off.
Wow, Doug trying to show us how popular he is. He gets
I've got an email today.
Emailed.
Did you hear that? Or do you?
Yeah, but it's okay. It's the people know.
Well, it's funny because when we're doing the Shannon and Vicky show, I run the show from my MacBook, and somebody set that up for me so that it doesn't make noises if I get an email while we're on stage. But the computer that I'm on right now is my regular computer. I don't have the same settings. But so I do run the show from a computer for Shannon and Vicky, and I serve as the host and the interviewer, and just like the guy who's helping, as I say, keep it together.
But I mean, the guy that keeps it together, normally on a show, like a Broadway show, the guy that keeps it together, there are all of these things in place. Like Vicky and Shannon are two huge forces. Like that's a huge job to keep that train on the tracks. Yeah. I was watching clips on TikTok of the show, and there's musical numbers. How do you even begin to try to keep that train on the track with two huge personalities?
It's really funny, Ryan, because, listen, you're a performer. So, the first time we went to the theater and I said, what do we do? A tech? Do we do a Q to Q with them? They're like, we don't know what that means. And I said, oh, okay. So then I was like, okay, I guess we're sort of right. These are not performers. They don't know the lingo or whatever. So you have to just explain everything to them, and they get it. They understand this is a sort of theatrical in nature. There is an audience, and we usually do that backstage meeting, Ryan, where we remind Shannon and Vicky this is a new audience. Asked these questions before, all of those things that you as an actor, when you're doing 8 shows a week, you sort of take that for granted that all those things. But they have embraced it. Shannon and Vicky now know stage left from stage right. They know when somebody says, "Can you step into your light?" They know what that means.
They know how to step into their light. They know how to do that. Yeah.
They have embraced the theatricality of these evenings, and it is really it is such a gift that I got this gig, in part because the guy who originally booked it, I guess they had some sort of falling out or something. It was originally developed with this other guy, Dave Quinn, who wrote a book.
Oh yeah, Not All Diamonds and Rosé. Yeah, I love Dave. Yeah.
So they originally were doing it with him, And then there was something happened that he either wasn't available. So they actually had Jameson Scala do.
Oh, from Jeff.
Yes. Jameson hosted at, I think it was the Brea Improv. I was there. And Shannon said, hey, can you do me a favor? And can you learn this? Because our goal is to take it on the road. And as amazing as Jameson is, he would never be able to go on a Wednesday or a Thursday, around the country because he's, fully employed by Sirius. So that's how I inherited it. And then it was the Tres Amigas at the time. I went to Phoenix. We did a couple of shows with the Tres Amigas. I met their manager and they were like, okay, we're going to give you a whole schedule. I said, great. And then the next thing I know, I saw somebody sent me like a page 6 article that had the picture of Shannon, Tamra, and Vicky. And in the middle, over Tamra's face, they put my face. And I looked stunning in that orange dress. But I was like, oh, I guess there have been some developments. Like, I am not on that text thread, and I don't need to be. I
like that you are in the middle of housewife drama. Like, that's what, even being a huge fan of Orange County, it really is kind of exciting to know you, but also to know how professional you are. And it's like the last thing that you would ever want is to be some kind of like part of some kind of like drug, because you're there to have fun, to do this like show, to highlight these ladies. And all of a sudden it's like between Tamra and Vicky and Shannon is Doug Budin. Like,
who would bald head,
like I just keep expecting you to like go off on Instagram. Like, I'm coming for you, Tamra. I got your job, lady. Like, it's just so not you. And you are always so positive. So it is funny. And I would say, and I don't think you can really answer this, but my prediction on OC, because we saw Vicky enter OC, the show again, making her triumphant return, which is so funny because within the first minute, she talks about the pus on her belly, which hopefully is a part of the live experience for you as well, Doug. But
you'll find out, Ryan.
So they talk about this, but then they talk about Tamra leaving the show. So I'm guessing that we will probably see the evolution of them as a duo on this season of OC, or at least I hope so.
Am I allowed to say that I had to sign an NDA, or are you not supposed to say that?
No, you can say you signed an NDA. You're just not supposed to say what you signed an NDA for.
Well, I signed an NDA. Let's just take that. So okay. Take that as you will.
Take that, yeah.
They have my number to text me, and they have my email to email me documents that I had to sign and send back. So I guess you'll find out.
I know they're done filming for the season and you guys have been on the road. And I know there's going to be a little bit of a hiccup because Shannon's doing the dating show on Peacock, Love Hotel. So I think you're going to have to move around some dates. But I was, you guys, you sent me a video on the road, like going from your New York to your, I think, Philadelphia show. And I was asking you a question and you said, hey, it's Doug. And then you would hear noise in the background and it's Vicky. And she's like, say hi, Ryan. And Vicky's like, hi, Ryan. And then Shannon's like, oh, Ryan Bailey. Oh, I know Ryan Bailey. Of course I know Ryan Bailey. And I got to say, this to me was a show. I was like, why is this not being like just Doug transporting housewives across state lines? This should be, because I couldn't even imagine, like, I would be so stressed out and you had like this big smile on your face and they were just going off like a tornado. Yeah. Why? I mean, is this being documented at all besides in your brain?
No, it's just whatever I happen to be recording. And when I tell you, Ryan, we were in New York. We did the New York show. And, the next day we were going to be in a Philadelphia show. By the way, at this point, they're no longer working with that former manager. So there's no tour manager.
Good. Great.
With us, right? So we were at dinner with lovely couple, Jen, is it Pedranti or Pedranti?
Yeah, Jen Pedranti and Ryan from OC.
Right. They were at the New York show. Jen was so gracious. She came up on stage. She was part of the Q&A. So we're out for dinner afterwards. And I said to Vicky, so how are we getting to Philadelphia tomorrow? And it's now like 11 o'clock at night. And Vicky's like, oh, we don't take a taxi? I said, from Lower Manhattan to Philadelphia? No, we don't do a taxi. Like normally we would take a train or arrange for some kind of transportation. So it's 11:30 at night. And I'm at this restaurant on my phone on the Amtrak site buying tickets for us. And then if you can imagine trying to explain to Shannon and Vicky, both from the West Coast, that Pennsylvania Station, or Penn Station as we call it, is in New York. And that's where we're going to meet to take the train to Philadelphia. That was like a Who's On First 20-minute sketch right there. They were like, no, where do we meet? In New York. And I said, Penn Station. No, to take the train. Penn. I said, you know what? I'll meet you at your hotel. I'll just get you at your hotel. So it's a lot of, and then the two of them were standing at Penn Station at the new Moynihan Hall, which is beautiful. As a New Yorker, I'm excited about the Moynihan Hall. And they announce our train, and I know, like, it's not reserved seats. We have to book it to get on the train. So I grab our stuff and I start running, and they're like, where are you going? I said, we have to get onto the train. Oh, now? I was like, let's go. And now there's, of course, a huge line. And so Shannon is saying, we're with him. You know, I'm all the way at the front. So now they're going,
stop the train. Stop the train. Yeah,
exactly. You know, I'm old enough. I've done enough of these kinds of things that I just try not to get stressed. I mean, I really just.
Oh, Doug, I was like, if that was me, I would change my identity. I would move out of state. Like, I would. There's no, and also the fact that you eat the fact that I heard that story and I'm like, wow, Vicky and Shannon actually made it to the train station. Like, I was like, you trusted them to make it to the train station. But I just, like, to me, this is like Welcome to Crappy Lake season 2. This is like, they should be following you guys and like just watching the insanity that ensues. Now, what is your relationship with like the Housewives in terms of reality television? Like, were you a big fan of this? I mean, it's been around for close to 2 decades almost. What is your relationship to reality TV?
Ryan, I have been watching Bravo since the It Factor. Do you remember the
Yes. So you were like inside the actor studio, It Factor, Blowout.
I have watched everything on Bravo. So the Housewives it's been 18 years and that feels recent to me. Yeah, for sure. So I have watched every single franchise. At one point I set my thing on my computer to a different location. So I was watching Melbourne. I was watching Cheshire.
Oh, you were deep. You were deep in. You were deep.
Yes. Yeah. So I watched them all.
What is like the difference? Like, because I came at this from like a fan as well. And then when I start to interact with these people, it's given me a whole different experience. And sometimes that's been amazing. And sometimes it's been really weird. And sometimes it's been bad. What has been, I mean, like, what has been because you meet a lot of people through the radio show, Jeff Lewis Live on Sirius XM Radio Andy, but you also, you're now working with some of these people. Has that taken away? I mean, are you still watching with the same kind of enjoyment that a lot of listeners out there watch for?
I think so. The first thing is 100% of these people I have met through Jeff. These are not people that like I would normally.
No, yeah.
New York, an OG New York housewife. Or like my family's former country home was very close to Great Barrington, where Dorinda,
Bluestone.
We would shop at the same market. But I met all of these people through Jeff. That said, like I had never met anyone from Atlanta because now I've met Cynthia, but like at Jeff's BravoCon party, I got to meet Phaedra, who had never been on Jeff's show, and I was so nervous and excited to meet. Did I tell you what happened?
No.
So I was with Mercedes and I walked up to Phaedra. I was like, oh my God, there's Phaedra. I was so excited. So I walked up to Phaedra and I said, Phaedra, hi, my name is Doug. I work with Jeff Lewis. I'm such a huge fan of yours. And she goes, you work with Jeff Lewis. I said, yes, I do. And she said, I'll have a skinny margarita, please.
You're like, yeah, I'll get you a skinny margarita. Hell yeah.
And MJ's like, what do we do? I said, we get her a skinny margarita. It was amazing.
I work with Jeff. That's amazing. God. But by the way, that's the most Phaedra thing. That's like a great experience to have with Phaedra,
She was so charming. I mean, the nice thing is that, as I said, I met all of these people through Jeff. But they're all really nice and kind, and there's not a single housewife that I've met that like hasn't been charming and super fun. And it's for me, it's about like resisting the temptation to like get everything you can out of them while you're with them. And, it's just like, but I'm not cool. Like, I'm not good at like being aloof and cool, but I try my hardest when I'm there.
No, I mean, you do it brilliantly. Like, I feel like we can put you in a room with anybody and you will make them feel immediately comfortable. You'll actually add something to the conversation and you'll set people up to make them look good in a good light. And I think that's
I try.
Yeah. Except right now in this interview. So no, going back to OC really quick, because it is very funny being a fan of these shows. And for me, and like a lot of the fandom, it's really turned into pro sports, like almost wrestling. Like, we are in the thick of it. Are you on Team Tamra? Are you on Team Alexis? Are you on Team Shannon? And I will scream because I really do not like that Johnny Bedore, that Johnny J. John Jansen.
Okay.
I just call him Johnny Bedore now. But I mean, do you guys in the show do you delve into like the bad stuff like that, or is it all fairly positive?
No, because there's a big element of it is the Q&A. We devote a solid 15 minutes or at least 10 to 15 minutes of Q&A depending on the audience. And there's nothing that's off limits. People will ask what they'll ask and there's no, prepared answer. And I think we haven't done a show. Oh no, we've done one show since OC this season has aired. And so there was one or two questions about John Jansen and Alexis, especially in Philadelphia. And Shannon answers really thoughtfully. And what's really amazing in those moments is how Vicky has Shannon's back. Like, they really do support each other. Because a lot of times Shannon, I've noticed, will say something, and then Vicky will be like, "Let me tell you how it really is," and we'll use more colorful language than Shannon does, and we'll really just sort of break it down, and we'll definitely have Shannon's back. So people do ask. There's nothing that that either Shannon or Vicky has said like, "I won't answer that." So it focuses on whatever the audience is asking at those points.
Yeah. I've noticed, and I feel this way going into this season, I feel such a protective, I feel so protective over Shannon Bedore, because here's a person that obviously has made mistakes, that's admitted to those mistakes, is trying to work on herself, and you throw it into Thunderdome in terms of this season of Orange County, where I'm like, the whole season seems like, what can Shannon withstand? How much can we throw at Shannon and see if she completely breaks apart? So I feel like the audience is so protective over her and of her, and I love that. Why do you think that is? And does she hold? Does she have that same kind of? Do you feel protective over her in like real life?
I do. I'm always like I sort of feel protective over whomever I'm with, in that moment. But like I'm always looking out for them because it's like I want them to shine, right? You don't want to watch your friend fail, and so. But I'm also like, I'm not the benchmark of what's, appropriate in Shannon's world. So I try to sit back, but I do feel protected in that I just want her to have the best experience that she can possibly have. And so whatever that means in that moment, I will say I giggle so much with Shannon and with Vicky. And it is those moments, not while we're on stage, but when I'd never been to an IHOP before, and we were in St. Louis, and they took me to IHOP, and just like walking into an IHOP with Shannon and Vicky, or at an airport. I mean, they are huge stars. We were walking in the airport, and it takes 20 minutes to walk 30 feet because they get stopped so much, and they're always kind and gracious. And I don't think either of them takes what they have for granted, which is also really, really nice to experience. Like they talk to every single person, but we giggle so much. It is truly one of the funniest things I've ever been fortunate enough to get paid to do is go on the road with them.
Well, I was thinking about, you love pop culture. You grew up in the theater in New York, and actor, all of this kind of stuff. And I thought, how interesting that Housewives in terms of like, we're coming up on potentially 2 decades of Housewives, but it's a fairly new genre that you actually get to see people get affected by. Like, they truly are stars. Like, BravoCon was one thing, watching everybody light up around these people, but in actual, you know, in real life, airports, IHOP, it really is interesting is that this is such a interesting, valid form of stardom now. They have their own lane as a housewife.
Yeah, it's true. It is, you know, I remember when Elaine Stritch was doing her one-woman show at the Amundsen. I don't know if you got to see it. It was, you know,
I didn't, but was a legend. Yeah.
One of the most brilliant theatrical evenings of my life. But we were standing, you know, in the courtyard of the Amundsen Theater, which is in downtown LA. You know, it's one of our larger houses. And Julie Andrews arrived, who was going to see the performance. And when I tell you, Ryan, I'm not joking, it was like the parting of the sea. There was this huge mob. We happened to be standing very close to the actual entrance, and you saw the crowd parting, and it was the most deferential. This silence fell upon thousands of people, and you just saw her walk through, and it just took our breath away.
Yeah.
And she was sitting 2 rows in front of us, so of course we watched her the whole night.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
That is this complete universe, you know, that she's one of those stars. And and the equivalent is walking through the Houston airport or the Austin airport, where you're walking, and I'm behind them. Sometimes I've got bags or wigs or, you know, trivia prizes or whatever in my hands, and you see everybody clock them and sort of take a step back, and then one person will run up, and then another person will run. But it's like, it's sort of the equivalent for me of this self-contained universe that much of the world has no idea who any of these people is. But enough do.
Yeah, I'm reading a book right now about Charlie Chaplin back in the old days, and that was like, there was a handful of like movie stars, and now, like, you know, fame and celebrity is like so fanned out now, where we have influencers and TikTokers and all of these things in the mix. And like Housewives is one of those little slices of pie, but it always is interesting, like explaining to somebody that has no idea what I'm talking about. Right. Also, that I love that moment of the Julie Andrews, because there is something that happens chemically in the air when a real huge celebrity, it's almost like that sound right before a car crash happens. You know, like the air gets sucked up and you're like, did I hear that? Or when a fight is about to break up, like something happens in the air. And I've experienced it a couple of times with like Meryl Streep or trying to think of others, like when they walk in and it just changes the atmosphere entirely.
It's real, you know, then the other. Here's the, like, if you filter it down to my world, Ryan, it's when we were doing Cooking Kibbitz, and there was a group from Jeff Lewis live in my house, including Carney Wilson, and we were singing on Instagram, "Hold On for One More Day," as a group into corn cobs, and Jameson arrived at the side door, and Mercedes opened the door and said, "Something iconic is happening right now." Like, as he walked in, like in our circle, that was that moment, you know?
Dude, I mean, like, it is interesting, like, because I even that Jeff Lewis the karaoke thing at Monica's whenever that was January or something, but that was in Carney saying "Hold On" with Alyssa. And if you guys don't know Jeff Lewis live, we'll talk about it in a second, but it really has been this amazing group of people, and Alyssa singing with Carney Wilson. I texted my buddy. I was like, I'm watching Carney Wilson from Wilson Phillips karaoke "Hold On," and I'm 5 feet away from it, and I just have to let you know because it means so much to me. Like, I was so out of my mind.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, truly.
Just to take it back to the olden days, like, you grew up in New York. When did you, like, what was the progression in terms of you originally wanted to be an actor, right? Which you still are, obviously, but like, was that the thing that you were trying to do from a young age?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm an actor, I just don't work. I went to this I am a Jew from the Upper East Side, but I went to a teeny Quaker school on 16th Street. I always say I graduated between Liev Schreiber and Amanda Peet. I was in Midsummer Night's Dream with Liev Schreiber and Pajama Game with Amanda Peet.
Oh my God.
It was the 80s, the latter part of the 80s. And then I went to undergrad where I took really relevant studies, majored in sociology and theater, and minored in French and music. Woo!
French and music, great.
But it was in college that I got my first SAG job, like one summer, and so I started working a lot in television, and I started making a lot of commercials. Went back to New York after college and went to a grad program at Classic Stage Company, CSC Rep, where I got my equity card doing a play with Cherry Jones.
Oh my God, I forgot you worked with Cherry Jones.
It was Cherry Jones, Liev Schreiber, and Hope Davis. I was in the play. I had one line. I was an actual spear carrier, like a true, not a euphemism. I had one line. I was like a Hark who goes there. But we did 8 shows a week, and then I joined a theater company called Arden Party, an Obie-winning theater company, and I did Shakespeare at the Public. And if there was a theater below 14th Street in New York, I worked at it. And then
was your spirit always the same way it is now, of like, did you ever get down like, oh, I want to be a bigger actor, or were you always like, man, I'm acting, I'm in a show, this is amazing? Like, what was your vibe?
I'm happy every time I get to work. Like, I'm never bummed about it. Like, it is such a blessing to be able to work that I'll tell you the truth is that depression came a little bit later. So I ended up moving to LA. I booked a partner.
Doug, was the impetus to move to LA to get into TV and film and like push theater aside a little bit?
A little. So I came to LA on vacation, and my friend Zoe, who was working at Veronica's Closet, I'm trying to think of who the
Kirstie Alley Hive, raise up.
So I forget whoever that production company was. Anyway, she worked on that show, and she was like, I'm going to get you a general with a casting director. And so she got me a general with Jeff Greenberg.
Oh my gosh.
Who for people,
you guys don't know, but like Jeff Greenberg is the man. Like he did Freier, I believe. He did Modern Family. He is one of the best.
He did Cheers, Wings, Frasier, Modern Family, like, every show, multi-Emmy winning. So I got a general with Jeff, and he said, you should work in television. You should just come back. You'll work in TV. No problem. I said, okay. And I owned my apartment thanks to Kellogg's, because I did a bunch of commercials with them. And I sublet my apartment in New York. I came out to LA. I got my driver's license. I was 30. I had not driven before. I got my first audition, which was for an episode of Frasier, and I booked it. And I was like, this is easy. Like, it was like, wow, who knew? Why was I here before? And so then I stayed here. I rented. My friend Abraham Higginbotham and I lived together. Strangely, we lived in the house directly next door to where I live now, which ultimately is where Josh was living. And I was working in television, and then I did a pilot, but that didn't go. Ultimately, everything was fine. I have a mortgage, so I had to get a day job. And then I auditioned for and tested at the studio and at the network for Modern Family. And when I did not get that,
was that for Cam?
For Cam, yeah. And when I did not get that, I went into a real depression. Something that as an actor, like, more often than not, you don't get the job. Like, you audition and you forget about it. For whatever reason, there was something about that part that I had attached my future to in a way that I never had before. And so I really spiraled. It went on for years. I was like, I can't do this business anymore. I have to leave. And then it took several years. I finally decided, you know what? I shouldn't be here anymore. I'm going to move back to New York. Then I'll figure out the rest of my life. And my friend threw a party, and it was at that party that Jeff asked me to come on his show. And here I am.
Wait. So what year was that, Doug? Because I was going to ask, like, what is the lineage, or what is the story? Because I'm still like kind of catching up on Jeff Lewis Live, the history of it. And chumps, you are listening, like, some of you guys, are amazing. Most of you are amazing. Some of you are really intense. And, but like, it has been interesting. Some of you guys have like kind of walked me down the path of the history of Jeff Lewis Live. So did you know Jeff before that party, or was that the...
I met Jeff through this mutual friend that was hosting this party. I met Jeff right after the first season of Flipping Out. We were introduced at the GLAAD Awards. Like I wasn't friends with him. I was introduced to him. I know that we made each other laugh. We had a very fun experience. Jeff was there with Jenny, and then
Jenny Poulos, right?
Poulos, and then a couple of years later, we were at a cocktail party, saw each other. We remembered each other. You know, we just stood there, had a drink, spent 5 minutes. That was it. And we sort of had that every few years. We would bump into each other. And then we were at a dinner party. He and Gage and I were at a dinner party, and we sat together. We had a very, very fun evening. And then that was basically it. And then it was at this party which was my 50th birthday. And I did not invite Jeff and Gage. My friend Patrick did. He called me. He was like, "Do you mind if I invite Jeff Lewis and Gage?" I said, "Well, invite them, but they're not going to come. I'm not friends with them." He was like, "No, they want to come and they want to see my house. They want to be there."
I would never let Jeff see my house. Are you kidding me? I wouldn't want it like, "Oh, this is horrible." He talk about it on the radio.
Patrick's house. No, trust me, Patrick. I'll show you some pictures off there. Patrick's houses are in Architectural Digest. Like this, he lives in historic houses. He currently lives in the former Russian consulate. So,
okay, he's fine. He's fine.
And he and Jeff are old friends. But that was January 5th or whatever of 2019. Wow. So that was Jeff had been on, I think about 6 months or so. His show is only on twice a week. I had no idea what he was talking about. And he said, "Gage will call you on Monday." And I said, "Okay." And I did not think that was going to happen. And sure enough, Gage called me on that Monday. And I went in and that was it.
So he used to be on twice a week on Sirius, and then you would go on. Would you be on for both episodes every week, or how?
I was on I think it was on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I went on a Tuesday, and then I sent him a thank you note, and I sent Gage a thank you note, and then the following Tuesday, Jeff was like, "Can you come back on Thursday?" So I was like, "I'm on Tuesday," and then the following Thursday. And right around that is when he broke up. He and Gage broke up. And so he really, he used to talk about how he really didn't have guests. I have a feeling he was being serious because they just kept bringing me back. Like they didn't have a lot of guests. It was Megan, Sherry O'Teary, whom I know totally.
From SNL, you guys, genius.
Sherry and I are old friends. So when I found out that she had been going on, she was like, "Jeff, Doug and I are already friends." So then she and I would go on together. But it was definitely Monica Casey has been doing it since the very, very beginning. I think Judge Lauren Lake has been on since the very, very beginning.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Monica and Lauren predate me and Megan. But we were all right. I mean, it was all right there at the very beginning. And then it went to 3 days a week. Then it became 4 days a week with a rerun on Friday. And now, look how it has grown to be this whole machine. Now 2 hours a day. It's crazy.
Well, and also they have the Jeff Lewis channel 789, where you can access those shows and those archives, because I will say I will get comments of like, "Oh my God, oh my God, the best days were Doug and Megan and Jeff." And I was like, I got to go and listen to some of those old ones, because I really I do this show, and I of course was a huge fan of Flipping Out and Jeff Lewis, but I didn't know him at all. I knew he had the show, but I don't have time usually to listen to the show. And then I got on, and now I got to say, I listen 5 days a week. I'm addicted to this damn thing. I listen to the first hour, I listen to the second hour, and what I'm so impressed, and some of you guys I think might not know Jeff, or maybe have sometimes the wrong impression because of outside influences, but it is interesting where it reminds me, I grew up on drive time radio, or even things like Stern and stuff like that. And the Stern stuff, it was never about the sex or anything like that. My thing was about the personal relationship between everybody on air. Was that it was oh, Robin or Gary or Fred. And to me, I was like, oh, this is like a little disjointed family that they make fun of each other and they fight with each other. And I am really addicted to that, because then it feels like, oh, these are my friends. Like these are my friends I get to listen to every day. And you keep up with Jeff's life. We get to find out what's happening with Doug. Am I accurate in saying that? Are you self-aware like that, or you think that's why this show works?
I mean, I think it's all the things. I think Jeff is extremely witty, clever.
Yeah.
Not dumb, but let's face it, not super smart.
Doesn't really have a lot of willpower. We can say that after this weekend at We Care. Not a lot of willpower.
In the most and he is in the most relatable way, unrelatable. You know, it's like
yeah.
He's sort of the guy that is super aspirational, and at the same time, he's the get off my lawn. He's like all those things.
And he admits to all of it. He admits to all of it. Like, he doesn't hide it, you know?
What is, I think, so amazing is, and, you know, we all overuse the word authentic. This is really him. And he is both, like, delightful and ornery. And I think what is interesting is that he does own it. And he'll say, like, sometimes it takes him a couple of days, as he'll say, like, to realize. But I love our friendship. I love being able to, you know, like, I wouldn't do it in public, but like privately, I'd be like, what's up? Like, what's going on? And he'd be like, yeah, whatever, you know, whatever's going on in his life. But he definitely lives it all. And you know, we were talking earlier about like reality TV stars. You know, we know him as a reality TV star, but that's based on him. It's really him.
Yeah. I mean, there are aspects of that I see, but like, there's nothing funnier to me. I pick, like, when you see a joke forming in Jeff's mind, or you see something that titillates him, of like somebody, like one of us will say something kind of a little off, and you see him sit with it and then like, immediately pick up on it. It's been a real joy to watch all of that go down, because I'm like, wow, this is how it all works. It's really, really exciting. What are some of the craziest moments you've had personally on that show? And what are some of the most fun moments that you're like, this is just, I pinch myself that I got to do this?
It's funny. I don't remember why I was thinking about this, but I was thinking if I think of the times that I have laughed the hardest in my life, two of them are with Jeff. And, you know, I love to laugh, but like, I'm talking like pee in your pants laughter happened with Jeff. Once with John Hill, and once when we were doing that weird cocktail. Remember we used to do like a cocktail?
Yeah.
And Megan was talking about, it was when I think, somebody from SiriusXM hit my car in the parking garage. Jeff was like, you should go to the hospital. I mean, there was nothing wrong. And Megan said, you can go there to, you know, to look for guys. And I said, well, actually, I tried that before. And that was one of those things. Jeff's like, wait a minute, you tried it? I said, yeah, I went to Cedars because I thought I would meet, you know, like a hot guy. And Jeff said, yeah, because they're all in comas. You have a shot. And that started me laughing. And then Jeff was like, you know, what did you walk in and say, excuse me, where are all of your men in comas? And then Alyssa said, where's the morgue? And when she said that, I fell out of my chair laughing. Like it was ridiculous how fun it is. And then I just love being there. And again, as a performer, you know, like as an actor, you normally have 3 days guesting on a show if you're lucky.
Yeah.
You know, we don't all get to have like a series regular role. So, you know, you spend 1 week with a team, or you're doing 8 shows a week, but the show is only going to run 10 weeks. And so this, which even though we're not performing, we're being ourselves, you can't deny it is entertainment. We're on the radio, we're broadcasting, there's a countdown. It's like, it's a show. And so for me, I get all of that joy that I have from being part of an ensemble show. I get from having this ensemble family. And it is not something I take lightly at all. It really, again, like I don't do the aloof thing well. But it is not lost on me that we are this family, and members may come and go, and the show can grow and shrink and all those things, but there really is a family. And I feel like I'm a cast member in that.
Yeah. I mean, I gotta say, like, It's also got to be so amazing because the chumps out there. And by the way, will you tell the audience, like, because the people that don't listen to Jeff Lewis, what chumps are or how chumps actually came to be?
So Jeff always used to talk about how he only had 12 listeners, and that went on for several years. And then it was David Bador, first husband of Shannon Bador, as far as I know. David Bador and Jeff had a little bit of a prickly relationship, and David would send Jeff these texts that Jeff would then read out loud on the radio. In one of them, and I remember the day we were sitting in Jeff's house. This was during lockdown when this episode happened. During lockdown, we couldn't go into Sirius, so they sent the equipment to Jeff, and we would broadcast out of his home, which was such a gift because it was like an excuse to take a shower and go somewhere. And I sort of really did well with COVID because the only people they would allow on the radio were Megan and me, and Monica. So like it was a much smaller group of daily talent on the radio, or talent in air quotes. Anyway, David sent Jeff these texts. Jeff read them, and in one of the texts he said, "You're a chump," and blah blah blah. And he used the word chump 2 or 3 times within one text. And I mean, none of us was born in like 1907, but who has used that word chump? And so that was our discussion. And we sort of just took ownership of the word chump. And it was not long after that Jeff sort of described all of us as chumps. And so all of the on-air talent are chumps. And then all of Jeff's listeners are also chumps. So when you say somebody's a chump, in the non-traditional sense of the word, it means that you are a Jeff Lewis Live listener.
Yes. What I was saying about that though is that so many of the listeners are just so amazing, and like you probably talk to so many of them or people that reach out to you, but it's such a passionate fan base that it's really, really cool to see. And I will, like, the one last thing I will say about the Jeff, because I always get asked this or I'll get weird DMs, is that I know there's so much like sometimes storm around these shows or around like this. I will say, like, there's been nothing but positivity. Like when I go in, everything has been so fun, so great, so welcoming. Jeff has been awesome. Like I can't say enough good things. Like I look forward to this opportunity every week. And when this is all over, I'll be bummed that it's gone because it has been such a joy. And I know that's not exciting for people to hear because they want like fighting and infighting and all this stuff. But I'm kind of protective of Jeff now, like I am Shannon Bador. But I have to just say, from my own eyes, I would be so happy to tell you guys of like, it's, and I'm sure there are things behind the scene, like, but from my experience, it has been such a lovely, what a dorky word, but such a great thing. And I feel like you had a little bit of that same experience at times as well.
I really do. And I was going to say, like, I love listening to you on the extent that this is not like to blow smoke up your ass. Like I was so excited because I don't listen to a lot of podcasts in my life. I pretty much only listen to classical music and NPR. Who's the dork? No, but I love the and with the addition of the second hour, there's so many more people who I get to listen to and whom I get to meet, which is fantastic. But I'm right there with you. Like again, anytime I'm working, I'm really happy to be working. And are there things that I wish could be better here or never there? Yeah, but that's life. And I think it's about not just reframing as Dr. Donna, one of Jeff's guests, would say, but it's about like being happy with what you have and just never take it for granted because I'm such an extremist, right? Like I literally, and this maybe helps keep me just a little bit sane. Like I still think like, half the world doesn't have like clean drinking water. And so it's like, we'll have like you gotta let's set that bar just a little bit more in a realistic place. And maybe that's my own coping mechanism, but I really think of that most days. Like that is what I think about.
Well, Doug, listen, I mean, sometimes I'm in there. There's no Diet Coke in the mini fridge in the green room. So like, listen, come on, there's issues, Doug. Like there's issues.
You got the 7th floor, Ryan. Come on.
Okay, as we start, I mean, we're the start winding down here a little bit. I did want to mention.
Oh my God, are we done? Did I talk too much? I feel like
no, we're not at all. We've still got 16 minutes. We still got to. No, this has been exactly what I wanted it to be. You invited me to do this thing that you started on Instagram Live called Cooking Kibbitz. And unfortunately, he needed flood insurance for his house because I sweated so. Guys, if you've seen the movie Broadcast News with Albert Brooks, there's a scene in there when he gets his big shot at like the news to anchor the news that he's been dreaming of his whole life, and immediately he starts sweating, and it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And this is exactly what it was like on the Cooking Kibbitz show with me and Doug, and it was so great because the audience was like, is he okay? Oh my God, there's another spot that just popped up on his shirt. Why did he wear that? Take your shirt off, dude. Go change. Doug, he's going to pass out. And I kept getting more nervous and more nervous. And I was so excited to be there. And that's just classic me. Like, I have a long history of sweating. But what is Cooking Kibbitz? How did this all get started? How do we support it? It's like every Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Is it right?
I think most Thursdays at 5 p.m. Pacific. I'm on Instagram Live. This also started during lockdown when everybody was just at home. I have always loved to cook. My mother was a Chinese cooking teacher when I was a kid. And so I really grew up sort of in the kitchen. But yes, she's not Chinese. She is a little old Jewish lady.
Thank you for clarifying. Yes.
She studied, we are Jewish, so we love Chinese food. She studied at the China Institute and did teach Chinese cooking. So I did always grow up sort of in the kitchen, and I love to cook, and I've got a nice kitchen. And so I was friendly with this gal from the farmer's market, and she said, like, hey, let's go live and cook on Instagram. Now, I had never heard of going live. I didn't know what any of that was. And we went live, and then I just sort of never stopped. Unfortunately, she and I parted ways, but she's still, I'm sure, a lovely lady. And I just go just about every Thursday, and I go live, and we cook, and we kibbitz. Kibbitz, of course, Yiddish to stand around talking about something that's not important. So it's just about having fun and storytelling, and I have so much fun doing it. And I love having the Jeff Lewis live crew over. And it's nice because for listeners who you don't get to see us just like hanging out and talking.
I love the audience. I love that the audience was like just throwing in comments the whole time. I was cracking up at some of the things that they were, even though a lot of it was at my expense, I was still dying laughing. I was like,
I felt so terrible. And of course, but the more you focus on it, the worse it's going to be. So that's why I was like trying to distract you. And
it's classic. I'm so used to doing things like that it was almost like trying to assure you that like, I was like, oh God, like I'm going to be okay. I'm so used to flopping this hard so often. So it was just about assuring you that we were okay,
Oh, I had a great time with you. I hope you'll come back.
Oh my God. Anytime, like that's it. That's what I feel like I get locked away doing this show. So that's why also I love doing the Jeff Lewis show, because it gets me out of the house. It gets me around people, because it's just usually through this kind of like Zoom or StreamYard, and to be around people, that's really exciting. I also am remiss if I don't mention the Cookin' Kibbitz official truffle salts, which you can potentially see here if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening, it's a beautiful bottle. Wait, when did you get into the truffle salt business?
So that I have always collected salt. Well, not always, but for at least 30, I'm 55. So at least since I'm 25, I collect salt from wherever I travel around the world. Some people collect shot glasses. I have just always collected salt. And that way, when I cook, if I'm making my Swedish potatoes, I'll use the salt that I took home from Stockholm, and it'll sort of remind me of the trip. And my very oldest friend, Rick, my mother and his mother met when they were pregnant with us. So I've known him my entire life. He was a photographer for Condé Nast Traveler and trained me to assist him so that I could go on all the trips with him. So I spent a few years getting paid to travel around the world, and I amassed quite a salt collection. So with Jeff, we were doing these merch boxes, and we came up with a Cookin' Kibbitz merch box that had, a cutting board or a charcuterie board and all sorts of entertaining items. And I'm very careful to work with. I like to work with US-based business, small business, women-owned, minority-owned business. And a listener reached out and said, hey, there's this great salt company. Of course, Jeff and the team gave me so much shit about collecting salt and what a geeky thing that is, but they like my cooking. And so
listen, if you don't listen to the show, Doug gets poked at a lot for this, for like the tomato fest, for potentially killing bodies and hiding them in a shed in his backyard. He really is an all around, like, he's really a good foil.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It's me. But so this listener reached out and said, there's this great woman-owned salt company in Duxbury, Massachusetts. You should have salt in your merch box. And so I reached out, and that's where I met the team from Saltery in Duxbury, Mass. But they didn't have a truffle salt, and I asked them about it. And then ultimately, the merch box company went out of business. Jeff and I had to out of pocket buy replacement things for all these people. And the salt company reached out and they said, I know we're not doing any more merch boxes, but remember how you wanted to do a truffle salt? How about if we develop this with you? And so we spent about 6 months they would send me samples. And wow. I really like white truffle more than black truffle. Each one has a slightly different flavor profile. Ultimately, we found that if we blended black and white truffle together, that gave us the incredible aroma and the really forward flavor and the flavor in the back. And so we developed this truffle salt, and they sell it directly on the Saltery website. But it is hand harvested sea salt out of Duxbury Bay, and then 100% black truffle and white truffle. There's no artificial flavor. There's no essence. Sometimes you'll see if it's really, really cheap on Amazon, it probably has truffle essence. This has actual pulverized truffles, and I'm really, really proud of it.
Well, I'll put this in the show notes, but where do we find all? Is it just through your Instagram and there's a link there? Because I'll put all this stuff up there, but how do we get our hands on this?
Yeah, you can either do my Instagram, but you can also go directly to saltery.store, SALTERY.store. Again, promote, support small businesses when you can. That's my motto.
I love that. A couple listeners, I said that you were coming on, and one person wanted to know, when is Doug Budin going to find love? When are we going to do we have is that on the agenda? Or I know you're just happy and grateful and all of this stuff. Is that something in your purview?
Well, sadly, I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon, according to Scary Sherry, the psychic that I saw. Twice now, she told me.
Wait, the psychic flat out just tells you it's not happening?
Ryan. So I went to Scary Sherry, who is the psychic. First I met her.
That's Jeff's psychic, you guys.
But I met her. We were at Disneyland, and she had never. She, of course, bring the psychic.
Yeah.
She's never been, and she's from Iran, and so English is not her first, maybe not even her second language. But she had never been to Disneyland, and I went with her on the Snow White ride. And so we walked in and the music is playing. So I sang, "Someday my prince will come." And she goes, honey, what is this song you sing? And I sang it again, "Someday my prince will come." And she goes, "Oh, maybe not for you, but it's okay." That's the first thing she said to me.
At the happiest place on earth, she tells you, but oh my God.
True. So then I went to her just maybe 5 months ago, and I had the audacity to ask about my love life. And she goes, honey, no, there's no love for you this year or next year. That's what she said to me. So
I told you before at the Disneyland. Why you ask me this again? Yeah, come on.
So it's it's fun. I have
see that. No, we do not listen to. Listen, I'd love to believe in psychics, but no, we have free will. You never know what's going to happen. I totally throw that out.
I say yes to everything. People, if somebody asks me out, great, I will go out. I don't. I've gone out with a few people who've asked me out on Instagram, and I didn't ask for a picture. I don't care. If you have a connection, you have a connection. But I'm not on any of the apps, as the kids would say.
And then finally, what is the last movie you've seen, and what other television shows are you watching right now besides Real Housewives of Orange County?
I just started watching Presumed Innocent with
Jake Gyllenhaal, yeah.
And I tend to rewatch things from years past now with a different perspective. In fact, it's not Housewives, but I just rewatched all 3 seasons of Ladies of London.
Oh my God, it's so good. Caroline Stanbury is so, I mean, people, you guys, you can find that on Peacock, but it really is one of those shows a lot of people don't even realize exists, and it's so dang good.
Yeah, it is. I love thrillers, and I love period pieces. So, I will tend to just like the Jason Bourne trilogy was just on again. And even though I have them all on DVD, I probably already have.
Wait, Doug, you own the Bourne Identity trilogy. You're like, I gotta have this on Blu-ray. Like, really? I would never have guessed this.
Yeah, I have I think maybe every James Bond on DVD, every Woody Allen on DVD, all the Jason Bourne. But then I also have Room with a View, Howard's End, Gosford Park, Remains of the Day, like all my faves.
I love you in your backyard pretending you're Jason Bourne, like doing parkour on the sheds.
Shut up! I love it. I can recite every line from every Jason Bourne movie. I love the locations. There's
not a lot of lines. It's mainly action. So it's not like, no, the Bourne movies are amazing. Like, they really are a different caliber of action movie, especially how they're put together.
Did you ever audition for any of those roles where you're just like, you're talking into the headset? No, I'm going to need SAT 7 through 14. Like those just like weird. Random.
Yeah. Well, yeah. What do I call them? Exposition. Something like, have you ever auditioned where you had action in the scene where like you've been shot at or something like that?
Ryan, I did an episode Charmed, and I remember when I was auditioning for it, if you, as you know, Ryan, when you get audition sides, it'll say start and it'll say end, right? And right where this role, at the line where it said end, it said that the character explodes. And so I go to the audition. We weren't self-taping, we were in the room, and they're always like, do you have any questions? And I was like, well, just one. Like, do you need me to explode? And they said, oh yeah, we do. And so like, I mean, I felt like such a fucking idiot, but I did not book that one, but I did book an episode of Charmed right after that. So they used my audition, and I just
Doug, I have a similar story that I did not book it. The movie, this is way back in the day, Black Hawk Down. Like, Jerry Bruckheimer was producing, Michael Bay was involved, big movie. And I was one of those guys that's always been a geek. So I was very aware of all of like who's directing, who's this. And I was like, holy shit, I've got a role for one of these, like the army people, like the one of the soldiers. And I go to these beautiful offices in Santa Monica, and I sit down and like in this beautiful waiting area, and I check in and I see Jason Segel. He was there. I think it was like, there was all of these actors that I'm like, oh, I know all of these people. Like, I'm the only one that I wouldn't know out of this group of people. And Jason Segel looks at my sides and he's like, oh, those aren't the updated sides. And I was like, wait, what do you mean? I said, no, I got them. No, these are the sides. He's like, no, there's updated. So I go into the front desk lady and I'm like, hey, was there new sides? And they're like, oh yeah, you didn't get those? And I was like, no. And when I grabbed them, they're like, Ryan Bailey. And I was new to Hollywood. So I thought I was still working under the show must go on, kind of like the show must go on.
Exactly what you're feeling. Yes.
So absolutely. I was like, I can't hold this production up. And so I go in there, there's like a team of people, a Jerry Bruckheimer, like it was a whole thing. And I sit down and I'm reading and I'm like, yeah, well, we're going to be out here for a while. It's tough stuff. And then I am reading the scene and I realize my character all of a sudden gets like somebody throws a grenade at him and he blows up. And so I'm like, what? And so you can see as I'm reading, this is a videotape somewhere. I see as I'm reading, and then I just go, and I just hop off the chair and fall on the floor. And literally 2 people in the room go, try to stop their laughing, And I got in trouble. My agents were like, you never go in if they're new. How you tell them you'll win. I had no idea. It was the most embarrassing.
Why would you know? Why would we know these
Exactly. I always thought I was being a professional and just like show must. Anyways, so Hollywood is amazing, you guys. And me and Doug are survivors and thrivers of Hollywood. You can see Doug next on Chumps and Heat, a live show in Arizona that's going to be this Thursday. It's sold out. But I'm sure that, who knows what's up.
Will you be there?
I will be there. Yes.
And you can see Ryan Bailey on Thursday at the sold out Phoenix.
Yeah. But what else is coming up for you, Doug? Because I know you're back on Jeff Lewis on Friday, which should be a complete mess after whatever happens Thursday nights. And when is the next Shannon and Vicky live? What else do we have on the horizon?
Yeah, thank you. As you noted earlier, we were originally supposed to be in Nashville and Atlanta in September. Those have to get pushed because Shannon, now there's a new project, so there's a conflict. So I just, I'm here. I will be in New York. Pretty sure I'm doing the radio with Jeff in New York next week, and then I got a couple of days vacation with that old friend of mine, the photographer, out on the beach. But just follow my Instagram. Basically, I'm home. There's not much happening.
Well, you are somebody that I have looked up to for a long time. You are you've been so amazing to me and so welcoming into this the Jeff Lewis show. But I just think you are fascinating. Please come back again at any point because I really do look up to you, man. And thank you for being here and being with us today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Ryan, and thanks to everybody for listening. And apologies if you're watching.